Hey guys, how's it going? Crane here. Today I want to give you guys the custom Hearthstone cards that I have accumulated over the last few months. The timing is intentional. We're right on the cusp of seeing a whole bunch of Kobolds and Catacombs cards, and I thought it would be really awesome to review the ones that I've picked, largely from the best of custom Hearthstone cards. These posts go up on the Hearthstone Reddit every week from the custom card Hearthstone Reddit, which I have linked below if you guys want to check that out on a regular basis. Sometimes people send me these cards, sometimes there's a few on Hearthpound, sometimes there's a few in galleries across the custom card websites out there. There are a lot, but I really pick the ones that really have a little bit more than just cool design. I pick the ones that I feel are a bit genius or really capture an amazing new mechanic or theme. The first card I'm going to show you guys today, Spoils of War, is actually part of the custom Hearthstone best of, I think, from the other day. This is one of the coolest cards, even though, yeah, you destroy a minion, restore adjacent ones to full health. You know, it's a pretty cool effect, I guess. The reason this card really appealed to me is because of the themes that hunters have in Hearthstone. In Hearthstone, hunters get the reputation of, I go face, me smork, damage, 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 charge stuff, go face. That's basically hunters. In the past, I've gotten a few fairly interesting control cards, but nothing too out of the ordinary, nothing too strong to reliably compete out of that archetype. Spoils of War, I think, captures hunters as they have been in the Warcraft universe before Hearthstone. Hunters were like the crafty type. They had like an extra angle on things. They had a different way of using similar items, skills, and weapons and that kind of stuff. That's kind of what Spoils of War reminds me of. You know, you destroy a minion, restore adjacent ones. You know, sometimes you might want to do this on your own minions, and, you know, using direct removal on your own minions to have some form of an advantage is kind of like that clever hunter theme thing from the Warcraft genre, not so much Hearthstone's interpretation of the hunter class. I really love it. Then I have Nozdormu, Lord of Time, a well-statted 9-drop, none of that 8/8 garbage, and the battle cry destroys all cards that were generated by another card wherever they are. So if they're in your deck, in your hand, I don't know where else they would be, but a really interesting effect that I think would be pretty welcome in the game. It's a mechanic that I think is very clearly needed as some form of a counter, but, you know, just now, you know, I think this card is from a month back, someone actually thought of putting it on a card. And I think that's really cool. I think this is a mechanic that Blizzard will eventually adapt. Probably not on Nozdormu, but who knows? We have 2 Ragnaros already for whatever reason, right? Smokes. 4-cost 5/3 Beast Druid card. You may use your opponent's unspent mana crystals. So this is actually a mechanic that is in the game. When your opponent finishes their turn and it's your turn, you can still see how much mana of their total they actually used. So there could certainly be some form of utilization of that mechanic as it's visible and it's already there. And this is a really cool way of doing it. I also really like the stat distribution of a card like this. While I think a card like this is probably a bit busted, but the idea of having an attack centered with a really powerful effect, I think, is very good, because typically those are the type of high power effects that your opponent needs to remove right away. And if this is like a 4-mana 3/5 like Fandral or something like that, I think it would be way too powerful, and I think the theme fits in this case a lot more. Very well designed, well-rounded card, and probably a bit powerful. Pain Channeler. 2-cost 1/3, your hero power can target minions. And of course, this is in regards to the Warlock hero power. Now, there is a card, I think it's the Steam Whittle Sniper. It's a hunter card from Gadgetzan, I believe, where it allows your hero power to target minions. But there is not really any creativity behind that card other than allowing hunters to ping 2 instead of using 2 to face. So the idea is that your Warlock hero power that normally hits you for 2, you'd be able to apply that effect to minions as some form of removal. And that's really cool. I do want to see hero powers actually seeing play, especially the non-intuitive ones like Warlock, maybe even Warrior. Maybe the Warrior hero power could add armor to minions. Maybe. I like the exploration of that, and I thought this card deserved a highlight as a result. Bestial Anomaly. Really cool card. So it's just a fair statted card. It's a 3-cost 3/4. Cards like these have seen play in the past, and the effect is really the gem here. So it counts as a beast while it's on the battlefield, as a dragon when it's in your hand, and as a murloc while it's in your deck. We've seen Blizzard push the several tribal types, and in particular these 3 as a set with a few cards in recent expansions, and I think it's going to take a card very much like this one to really push that into the competitive side, into the good decks of Hearthstone. A very creative card that actually adapts based on where it is in the game, I think is going to be what's going to cross over to the point of viability. Arcane Mastery. Quest, Mage. Kill 3 minions with your hero power, and the reward is your hero power does 1 extra damage, and you add an Arcane Mastery to your hand. So a pretty interesting card. It's basically like a grinder control mage type of card, and I think it's fairly well suited, though probably a bit too powerful given the hero power manipulation effects from other classes and the fact that mage can, jump on those other cards. Like, imagine you have this and somehow you got a Raza as a mage. It'll be kind of like when you had Raza and you got a Koldara Drake as a priest. I think those shenanigans are a bit extreme, but with those cards cycling out next year, maybe something like this would be welcome. Begone Thought. 2-cost priest card. This is basically the dream of the steel priest. Now, all cards that in both your hand and your opponent's hand are discarded. So basically, cards that you will typically have in your regular hand as a priest aren't likely to be in your opponent's hand. So the idea of this card is you use cards like Thoughtsteal, many other cards with similar effects like Thoughtsteal, maybe even cross-class card generation you think they might have in their deck. It's typically very easy to predict an opponent's deck these days in standard ranked Hearthstone play, so I think it can work, and I think it'll be a lot of fun. Don't think it'll be like a competitive thing, but I think it'll certainly be like a Renounce Darkness type of deck style that a lot of people will love to play despite the suboptimal win rate, and that's certainly something Hearthstone needs more of. And we have Purge the Cowardly. Destroy a minion that could have attacked last turn but didn't. This mechanic is amazing because it has essentially synergy with Taunt. If you have big taunt minions, which are actually very difficult to play because aside from Bone Marrow, which is a problem of its own, but typically it's difficult to play taunt minions because the bigger they are, the more of your turn you invest in playing them, and the more of a tempo swing your opponent will get when they use a hard removal on it. So this kind of begins to grab some of that reward back and might actually make it worthwhile to play some of the bigger taunt minions, which I think would be welcome. It's again one of these cards that draws into the game cards that are otherwise not going to be played. Tax Evasion. 3 costs, draw 3 cards, end your turn. I think it's a really cool card. It goes with the rogue theme of unfair spell and draw mechanics. It's certainly way above the other draw mechanics. This, if it didn't have end your turn, it should cost between 4 and 5 mana, something like that. But it costs 3, which is a lot better. But the fact that you end your turn makes you pay a price and makes it really cool and even. I think there could be a lot more cards that would be over the power level with the end your turn tag that would create, again, a different angle on current strategy in Hearthstone. Wildfire shot. Deal 2 damage to a minion, 4 to adjacent, then 8, and then so on. So 16, 32, 64. Probably not even that much space for those minions. But cool, right? Really cool. Again, what I really like to see, I think this card would probably be a bit more balanced at like 1 damage for like 4 mana. But that aside, the idea of having high skill, clever cards that could turn the tide on a board, I think is what I want to see from the Hunter class. I think it's the real Hunter theme of Warcraft, not so much, unfair chargers and face damage cards. And then lastly, I have the Treasure Goblin. So I'll give you guys some history after I talk about this card. So 1 cost 1/1. This card cannot be crafted. You receive full dust value when disenchanting this card. Available already. So the idea is that you open this card from a pack, and it's basically like the Joker card. Disenchant and craft whatever golden legendary you desire. So really cool. Treasure Goblins, I think, were first, at least I remember encountering them for the first time in Diablo 3, and it really was that. It was just some dumpster little goblin that just had way better than expected loot, and it was just a journey to try to track it down and grab the goods. So this card showing up in packs would be awesome, and I remember pitching the idea, and I want to mention it again because I saw it on Reddit, kind of loosely a similar idea, where I think I had this idea back in like 2013. It was a long time. I think I made it into a video back then. But regardless, I think it'd also be pretty cool if whenever you played, you just had a small chance to, instead of playing an opponent, to play a Treasure Goblin. Like, let's say you're playing ranked mode, and instead of, finding an opponent at equal rank, you'll have like a 3-2, maybe 1% chance to find a Treasure Goblin. A Treasure Goblin might be like an unbeatable opponent that the more damage you deal or the longer you stay in the game gives you additional rewards like gold and dust, maybe packs, maybe arena tickets. And I thought there should be some balancing involved in that, to where slower decks would actually be able to get more loot. And the reason I thought of that is because Blizzard never really got past the idea of balancing win rates with the time involved playing the game. So in ranked mode, you'd often just play the faster decks because you could play more games and rank up faster. And that dynamic was never broken down. It's always better to play the faster decks unless you're at the very peak of ladder. And having some kind of Treasure Goblin mechanic, you can actually warp that just enough to where people actually bring slower decks as a form of optimizing ladder play. So, cool stuff. Hope you guys enjoyed the cards. Hope you guys enjoyed my review of them. And hopefully the Kobolds cards will blow us away even more so than the custom cards in this video. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.